Hello, my little artists. It's good to see you again. Today, I'm going to introduce you to some ladies from Alabama. They are from Alabama, central Alabama, and the group of women are quilters from Gee's Bend. Gee's Bend, the area has been settled by the same people for a very, very long time. It originated as a plantation, and the slaves that worked the land stayed on after they were freed in the early 1860s from the Civil War. And at that time, they stayed as sharecroppers. And so they worked the land, but they also received money for doing so. And then uh, just over time, the same people, the ancestors from the slaves, have stayed in Gee's Bend. And so it's a little community made up of people from the slave era. And I wanted to show you some examples of Gee's Bend quilts. Quilts is a functional or decorative fiber artwork made by piecing or painting a top and layering it with a piece of batting in the middle or backing. All three layers are sewn together in order to hold them together and to add the overall design. So that is the traditional definition of a quilt. But I wanted to tell you about the quilts from Gee's Bend. Um, the people that lived in Gee's Bend were poor. You know, they were farmers. They didn't have a lot of money. And so the quilts were made out of necessity. And so a lot of them had no beds. So they created these quilts to lay on the floor so they could sleep on, and then created more quilts to cover themselves at night. And because they had very little money, the material that they used came from old clothing that they had worn. And there was also a textile factory, a factory that made clothing nearby. And so they would go there and grab the scraps, sorry, from the trash. And so they would piece these quilts together. And a lot of times traditionally when a quilt is made, there's like a design, and then people go and buy special fabrics, to create the pieces. But what makes the Gee's Bend quilt so special is the fact that they were made from clothing worn by their loved ones, by their relatives. And I'm going to show you some examples. Here's an example. This woman, she calls this the bricklayer. She says that this style of quilting is her style, and she likes it because she says that she can make it look nice with just simple fabric, and it does look nice. These pieces are special. They're unique. I love this one. I love the way it looks, how all the combination of the fabrics came together. And so anyway, there's a collector of African-American folk art that stumbled upon the ladies of Gee's Bend, and he brought the quilts to museums, and they had shows. And so these beautiful quilts that laid on their floors and covered their ancestors were hanging in museums. And what's special about the quilt making process is that a lot of people will come together and piece a quilt together. So, and then the little children will be around the quilting table and, wait for their time to begin to quilt, especially the females. Every female learns how to quilt in Gee's Bend. And so now there's a collective there where you could go to Central Alabama and Gee's Bend and you can purchase a quilt. So what I had the students here at Ortona in the classroom do is make a quilt. And so I had decorative paper. This one was made by my daughter, Savannah. And so we had decorative paper and we cut it and we made a quilt out of paper in the style of the Gee's Bend ladies, quilters, I should say. Here's was my example of a quilt that I made to show in class. So I know that you guys are very limited at home, that you have the little art kit that I made for you and some notebook paper. So I thought maybe you could just draw a quilt. So I drew one, just an example, but just use your imagination and have fun with this. I did this project to honor Black History Month. So there is a lot of history at Gee's Bend. If you Google it, you can find more information, and there's lots of good books out there. These ladies are special, and so are these quilts. So enjoy this one. Send me a picture. I'd love to see it. Until next time, be well.